Kia ora koutou. Markie here again, and once again I'm pointing my camera at the computer screen, so it gives you that weird jazzy effect. Now if that makes you go peculiar, particularly if it's anything serious like epilepsy that it might trigger, I suggest don't look at the screen, and what we'll do is we'll put the what we're looking at in the description box, so you can safely look at it there, and you can just lie back, close your eyes unless you're driving or anything, and listen to my dulcet tones. Okay, so a couple of things before we start. First of all, usual caveat, I have a unique presentation style. I'm not saying that to show off. It's very informal, very chatty, very unscripted, and some people don't like it, which is fine. But what pisses me off is when people make snippy comments about it, which they did recently. So I'm still in a grump about that. So if my style is not for you, just go and watch somebody else's videos and be happy. Be a happy person, not somebody that spreads misery. Okay, that's what I would say. I would say that about anything on YouTube. YouTube is not like the telly. You know, that you can sit and watch the telly with your friends, and you can slag everybody off and, you know, make sexist and racist and whatever comments you like, and nobody will hear you. Okay, but when it's YouTube, you know, the creator is the person that sees your comments. So so be nice, or say nothing, or go away and find something that you like. Anyway, there we go. I don't think you should make racist and sexist comments anyway, just to clarify that. Anyway, but what you do in your own front room, I can't control. So I did a video a while back on a model of personality called the 5-factor model, or sometimes OCEAN, OCEAN, which is an acronym. And I won't repeat everything that I covered in that video, because I was talking about how you can use that for yourself to get a really good model of your personality. So I'll put a link to that in the description box. But what occurred to me the other day was how this model might be useful for animals. And I thought it might be useful in, you know, things like puppy pounds, you know, animal shelters where they're looking to rehome animals, as a very simple way of summarizing an animal's personality in a way that might be helpful in terms of finding suitable owners, for example, or just in terms of care. Now, you know, I'm sure they have their own systems. Do you work in? If anyone works in a puppy pound or an animal shelter, let me know how you do this. How do you record the personality of the animal in a succinct and user-friendly way? But I've got a suggestion that you might be able to use this. Now, I'm a great believer that animals are just like people. You know, people say, oh, animals can't think, and oh, animals haven't got souls. I think a lot of people haven't got souls, but there we go. I think this model would work for animals, and rather than think about that in advance and come up with a model and then present it, I'm just going to look through my notes for this model that I've made. This is my breakdown, which is what I use with clients as well, and go through it and just see, just on the hoof, we can go through it together and see whether it would actually work for animals, because I think it would. Okay. So there are 5 factors, hence it's called the 5-factor model. So we're going to go through the 5 factors. Now, I suggest that if you're going to use this with animals, you simplify it. Okay. So the model that you use with people, the original model, it's a percentage score. But it's kind of interesting because I found out even recently that that the average score is not 50. which you'd think it would be. Each one has a different average score. Now, I put a lot of work into getting my head around this model, because well, it's complicated, and there's two different people that kind of have ownership of it, and they both use a different language, and it's broken down. Each of the 5 factors is broken down in 2 ways. It's broken down into 2 broad categories, and then it's broken down into 6 wider categories. So I won't do this with all of them, because this is what I did in the other video, but let's look at openness to experience. Okay, so if you break it down into 2 main things, it would be creativity and intellect. Okay, now interestingly, just to make the general point, which would apply to all these categories, you can score really high on creativity and really low on intellect and still have a high score, or vice versa. So if you've got a high openness to experience score, it doesn't mean that you are both intellectual and creative. It means you could be, it could mean that, but it could also mean that you're one or t'other. Okay, and then the breakdown. So breaks down into 6 factors. You'll see there, amid all the jazzy effect on the screen, that there's a oblique, as we used to call them back in my day, or a slash, as they call them more recently, which is rather crude, isn't it? In between the 2, and that is because the 2 different bodies that look after this model use different language. So one of them calls it imagination, the other calls it fantasy. One calls it artistic interest, the other calls it aesthetics. One calls it emotionality, the other feelings, the other adventurousness, and the other action. One intellect and one ideas, one liberalism and the other values. Excuse me. Okay, so so that's, if you want to know more about that for people, then what I suggest is you watch my original video on this, but we're going to simplify it. We're going to really make this simple. We're going to break this right down to real super simple, super easy to use. So openness to experience. So how does Fido cope with new things? Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Stoofy, who is, bless him, no longer with us, was my dog, and our baby. So I had him before I got together with Gwendolyn, and she became a Stoofy mama. She was a wonderful Stoofy mama as well. She spoilt him something rotten and cooked him home cooked meals, because he got quite ill at one point, and I didn't realise that a lot of pet foods are really bad. You know, they're really not good for pets, a lot of them. So we actually made our own dog food, and she laboured and slaved at doing that, you know, with huge love. Anyway, so openness to experience. So let's so what I would say is, how good is the animal at coping with new places, new people, new experiences? Okay, is it going to freak them out? Are they going to love it? You know, there's the kind of if they're, so I'm thinking dogs and cats really, but it could be other animals. I'm probably going to use dogs and cats as the examples here. And of course you can do this to your own pet. Okay, you can score them on here, and what I'd really love is to see your scores for your pets. If you've got a pet, obviously just look at you know, one individual animal, and give them a set of scores. So it'd be 5 numbers. Okay, so I'm suggesting we go 0 to 10. Okay, 5 is the point in the middle. 1, or I guess you could have 0, is you know, is not that at all. So a dog that's, you know, really kind of traumatized and terrified, and, you know, won't go anywhere, you know, those dogs that are shaking all the time, that would score, you know, 1, 0, 1, 2, you know, be quite low. And a dog that's always, you know, running away, always kind of goes up to strangers, always kind of curious about things, that would be a 10. Okay, so that's how simple we're going to go with this. Okay, so if you thought you're in for something complicated, you're not. So stay with me. We're going to see if it works. Okay, Right, now conscientiousness. Now conscientiousness doesn't mean conscientiousness. It means orderliness and industriousness. Okay, so I'm it's not going to work, is it, in the way that it is at the moment? So we're going to change it, don't worry. So orderly, you know, do they make their bed? do they put their toys away in a box? Do they always fetch slippers and fetch the paper? No, I'm going to put this down to obedience, okay, and pro-social behaviours, let's say. And now bear in mind, I'm making this up as we go along, okay, and I'm confident that we can do it. So so conscientiousness, so change that to obedience. So okay, so the first thing we've got is openness to new experiences. Then we've got obedience, okay, so not conscientiousness. I'm going to go down the list. Extraversion. Okay, so okay, so already, because we've got extraversion, that means we need to modify the first one. So the first one, openness to experience, that's not about how they are with new people then, okay, it's new experiences. So, for example, if you took your dog to a groomer's for the first time, would that freak them out? If you take them to the vet, does that freak them out? If they're exposed to loud noise, you know, if you're by a railway track and the train goes by, that would be experience. So it's their coping ability with experiences, and places, but not people. So conscientiousness, we're changing that. That's obedience. So we've got openness to experience. Obedience would be number 2. Of course, we lose all the ocean acronym now. Extraversion. Okay. So, you know, are they withdrawn? So a very withdrawn dog that's frightened of people would be, as you know, extreme would be a 0. And if they're the sort of dog that would just jump into a car with any stranger, that would be a 10. Okay. Agreeableness. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's got parallels with some of the others as well. So agreeableness. So I would change this to aggression. Okay. So if they're very aggressive, they'd be a 10. If they're very passive and they'd let a burglar walk into the house and just lick them, that would be a 0, for example. So this is good. This is how I imagine this video would go, is working through it in this way. So I'm just going to make some notes as we go. So we've got so we're going to end up with something different, aren't we, really? It's not going to be the 5-factor model at all, which is what I thought, but this is better even. So first of all, openness to experience. Can they cope with new things? Conscientiousness is obedience. Extraversion is, I'm going to keep that. You could call it friendliness. So extraversion, that we're talking there about extrovert and introvert. That's what that's all about. So agreeableness is aggression, level of aggression, and 5 is neuroticism, which I'm going to keep. Neuroticism. So neuroticism is so this is kind of quite old school psychology. That mental illness is broken into 2 categories. There's psychosis, which is where you lose touch with reality, and then there's neurosis, where you don't. Okay, so neurosis is depression, anxiety, OCD, phobias, neediness, clinginess, anything that's not psychosis. which is, you know, where you've lost touch with reality. Psychosis involves hallucinations and delusions. So so with the original model, withdrawal was one of the, you could break it down into withdrawal and volatility. So overreaction or withdrawing from the world. So like depression is like withdrawal, volatility is like, would be like anger problems. But we've covered that with aggression. So we've got, yeah, so, you know, is your pet clingy? You know, can you leave them for any length of time? So let me go with Stoofy here. Let's do Stoofy's score. So openness to experience. Yeah, pretty good. Now, I got Stoofy when he was quite old. He was rehomed. He settled very well. First day I got him, I took him out with my walking group and we went on a long walk, and he just was like, people just said, how long have you had that dog? You seem really bonded with him. It seems like you must have had him for years. And I said, no, I got him yesterday. So but he could be freaked out by things as well. He hated going to the vet and stuff like that, so I'm going to give him a 5, put him right in the middle. Obedience, not bad. Yeah, I mean, I actually could walk through a field of sheep without the lead on. Now, don't get me wrong here. Okay, I didn't do that lightly. I made him walk to heel, and he was super close. And if he showed any interest, you know, appeared to run off, I'd be right on him. But he would walk through. He could do that. But he could also get very distracted by things. There were certain things that he liked to chase other things, really, like birds and that kind of thing. So I'm going to give him a 7 for obedience. Extraversion, he was friendly, he would go up to people, but not overly, so I'm going to give him a 7 again for that. Aggression, very low. He would certainly, you know, bark if there was a noise. So yeah, maybe 3. Neuroticism, yeah, he couldn't be left. He would cry if you left him on his own. So I would give him an 8 for neuroticism. Okay, so these aren't scores that you add up or anything like that. These are just scores that you would use as shorthand, really, for passing on information about the dog. Now, I guess there's other things that don't come into this. There'd be, you know, I suppose like things like health, you know, toilet training. Will they run off? I know we've talked about that, but it's not really scored, is it? But that would come under obedience, wouldn't it? I guess if they were chewing, if they were destructive, so they chewed your shoes every time you left the house, that would come under neuroticism, I guess. So has that covered everything? Obviously, things like health are really important, aren't they? And how much exercise a dog needs. But I would say that's not personality. That is, you know, that comes under, you know, that would be quite close to health, wouldn't it, in terms of that? So openness to experience, so openness to new experiences, we'll call that. Obedience, extraversion, aggression, and neuroticism. Okay, so tell me, especially if you're an animal person, if you work with animals, if you work in, you know, if you're a vet or a veterinary nurse, or maybe you work in a zoo, or maybe you work with livestock, would this work for, you know, is there any validity in this? So credit to the developers of this model. Okay, it's their model, not mine. I'm just playing with it. But could it be adapted to give a profile of an animal in a way that would be helpful? Say you and your partner decided you're going to get a cat, or you're going to get a dog. Maybe you're going to get one of each. And maybe you could actually sit down together and work out what your needs are. Okay, in terms of an animal. Now, if I was getting a dog now or a cat, I mean, obedience doesn't come into it with cats, does it? You just have to take that off the score. It has to be the four factor model with cats. I suppose, yeah, I'm going to call that obedience stroke compliance, because cats can be compliant, can't they? When they want to be. I sound like I'm being mean to cats. I love cats and dogs. I'm probably more of a, if I had to choose, I'd probably be more of a dog person than a cat person, but I love both. I love all animals, really. So obedience stroke compliance. So for me, if I was looking for a dog now, I would want one that was, I suppose compliance and obedience would be the first criteria, I think, or one of the most important ones. And I would want a 7 at least. I do not want a dog that just runs off, because it's just so stressful. You're worried about, are they going to get run over? And so I don't want a dog that runs off. So 7 minimum I would kind of stick with. Extraversion, it depends, doesn't it? You know, because you make these decisions with your heart in the end, don't you? And there may be a dog that's, you know, you might walk around a rehoming shelter, and there's a dog that's shaking in the corner, and you think, oh, bless his little heart, or bless her little heart, and you take them knowing that, you know, they're probably they're always going to be very timid and very scared, but you love them anyway. But I suppose if I could have an ideal dog, I would want at least at least a 4 for extraversion. I don't need them to be friendly with everyone, but I don't want them to be scared of anyone, so I want at least a 4 there. Aggression, well, depending on what kind of dog it is. If it's a biggish dog that could serve as a guard dog, then I suppose a 4 or a 5, no more than 5, because I don't want a dog that's going to harm anyone. I mean, the brilliant thing about Stoofy is, you know, kids could come up to you. It's brilliant with kids. You know, if you're out in the public place and a child came across and wanted to tickle him and fiddle with his ears or whatever, he was absolutely fine with that, and I never had to worry. So maybe I scored him a bit higher as a 3. But a big dog, you know, I would want 4 or 5 on aggression. I want something that would serve as a guard dog. If it's a small dog, well, no, that's true. If it's a small dog, just aggressive barking is a deterrent, isn't it? So I think a 4 or a 5. Let's say a 4. Let's not hedge our bets. Neuroticism. I don't mind a dog that's got its quirks and its things, you know, things that it like, you know, it might be frightened of the Hoover or something like that. And like you say, you fall in love with these animals, you know. It's not that I want the perfect dog. You know, I want a lovely dog, really. So yeah, neuroticism, probably no more than 5, not higher than 5. And openness to experience, again, a 4 or above, really. I mean, I can cope if the dog's a bit scared going to the vet. I mean, that's normal anyway, isn't it? But if the dog's scared of new things and new situations, a little bit timid, that's okay, but not too timid. I don't want to spend my whole life just reassuring the dog. I seem to have gone with the dog now. I don't know, the cat's gone out of the window. Well, cats can go out of the window, can't they? Dogs probably can't so easily. So yeah, what do you think? Am I talking nonsense? Is this just rubbish? Am I just, you know, have I just lost it here, or is this a good model? I'm just going to show you the list here. Good old-fashioned paper list, just so you've got something to look at. So, openness to new experience, going to call that. Obedience and compliance, extraversion, aggression, neuroticism. Okay, so bear in mind that generally speaking, for most of these 5, the middle point is often the good point with some of these. So aggression, obviously you don't want a dog that's too aggressive. It doesn't matter if a dog's not at all, or a cat or an animal is not at all neurotic. That's okay, isn't it? Extraversion, again, it's you probably don't want it to be too withdrawn, or maybe too friendly, because the risk of running off with somebody else. Openness to new experience, I don't think that can be too high, really, can it? I suppose you want a dog that's got a degree of natural caution, don't you? You don't want a dog that's going to put itself in danger. So I guess, yeah, you wouldn't want that too high. I don't think you wouldn't want that above 8, I would say. So yeah, so I don't know, what do I think? Is this something that would be useful? I think it would be more useful for people who are thinking of getting a dog, to use as a tool for thinking about what kind of personality of dog they want, because it was useful for me just then when I was thinking, what kind of a dog would I want to have now? Would it be useful, let's say, Stoofy went into kennels, or went to daycare, because he used to go to a daycare place. Would it be useful to share that with the staff at the daycare? Probably not, because you've got to explain that whole model to them, haven't you? Which, how long has that taken me? 26 minutes. But if it was a model that existed, if it was an established model that everyone knew about, and the daycare or the kennel, boarding kennel, knew this model, then I think it would work, So I say, I've got a new dog, I want to bring him off to you. Here are his scores. I think it would work if if everybody was familiar with it. So still a bit of a flight of fancy. See, this is the way my mind works. This is one of the things about ADHD, is we think outside the box, and this is why I have lots of ideas. I'm an idea person. Not always good at implementing ideas, because that gets boring. But I think it's one of the reasons why my ideas generally are either genius or absolutely terrible, and not much in between. And why why it's always good to be part of a team, because I can have an idea and run it by other people who can say, no, Mark, that's absolutely useless, or there's a fatal flaw in your idea there, that ain't gonna work. But yeah, if you're an animal person, or you like animals, or anyone really, if you've got a pet or you wanted a pet, what would your scores be? Tell me in the comments. I'd be really interested. And like cats and dogs, it's always better when they have legs. Does this concept have legs? Right. I don't know if it does or not. I think I could use it. And I think it'd be useful, if we were looking to get a pet, Gwendolyn and I think I could see us both using this model. So it's got legs, I guess, but has it got 4 legs? Has it got the full 4? Has it got enough legs to stand on? That's what I'd like to hear from you. So polite answers only, please. If you didn't like this video, why are you still listening? And bear in mind that we talk about all kinds of things in this channel. This is one of my more far out ones, but check the playlists, because there'll be something for you in the playlists in this channel. We share views sometimes, just nature views. Got a whole series on just weird things that I find on beaches, usually dead animals of some kind or another, or strange kind of gelatinous masses that, you know, that look alien. We've got serious stuff on psychology, we've got song analysis, we've got book reviews, movie reviews, and first and foremost, we're about retroactive jealousy. But we can't just keep churning stuff out on retroactive jealousy just for the sake of it. We want to make videos on retroactive jealousy when we've got something useful to say. So that's our goal, and that's what we're here for, is to get that information on retroactive jealousy out to people who are suffering without knowing that it's even a thing. So the more you watch videos, especially if you're watching to the end, and you can tell I'm kind of starting to wind to the end now, if you watch to the very end, that persuades the YouTube algorithm to show the video to more people, and that can actually literally save lives in some cases. So we really appreciate it when you do that. You can support us in other ways as well. They're all listed in the description box. If they're not there yet, is because we haven't put them up yet. Be patient, they'll get there, or look on one of our older videos and they'll all be there ready for you. So thank you for all your support and your love. Thank you if you're a subscriber. Thank you very much. If you're a patron, thank you even more. We'll see you in the next one. You know, anybody's guess what it will be about. Rangi Marie.